Welcome back! Well, it took me long enough. The nicer weather we've been having means that I'm spending my time captaining at my rowing club and getting crews out on the water, so that means less free time to sort this boat out and obviously to edit the videos as well. But a lot of work has been happening behind the scenes. The rigger is now cleaned up and I've placed the new bolts throughout the whole, all the 4 holes. The gates look okay for the time being. I might replace them in the future, but at least for the first trials, they should be okay. Another thing that was annoying me was the hatch cover kept falling off because I hadn't actually attached it to the boat, so that's been fixed. I have also fitted a brand new bow ball because the old one was very manky and really not doing its job, so that's looking nice and shiny now. I started fabricating a footplate. I looked in the old parts bin, all the rejected bits that we've got at the club, and I managed to find a pair of not too horrible shoes and a foot stretcher that, with some adjustment, some cutting and some sanding, actually fits the boat. I need to varnish the wood just to protect the areas where I've cut, and that should be all good. We tackled the repairs at the very end of the boat. So this was done using the end pour. So as you can see in the pictures, sadly I don't have that much footage of the actual operation. We used the access hatch that we cut in the stern canvas of the boat, and using an old PVC tube I had lying around in the garage, we effectively poured the epoxy down this hatch into the rear of the boat, and until the point where we actually started seeing epoxy coming out of the other end. And then we just attacked it with the hot air gun until it cured. And it seems to be pretty much sealed up now, which is great. And as you can see, we took advantage of gravity to help us out here. And to ensure that the cover of the epoxy was throughout the entirety of the stern, the boat was sloshed around a few times. We spun it to make sure we had even coverage. After the internal repairs were done, we focused on the outside, covering the areas with glass cloth to make a reasonably invisible repair. But since we took material off, there was a need to put some back, and for that, we use Fiberglass body filler. It's a 2-part thing. It smells wonderfully, but then again, I absolutely love filling up my car with petrol. I'm one of those, yes. After the Fiberglass cured and hardened, it didn't take long. Compared to the epoxy, it's almost instant. This solid mess was wet and dry sanded, and we used increasing grit counts to make a nice smooth finish. And then, to protect it, we sprayed it with primer. So, the below water areas of the hull seem to be more or less repaired, at least as far as the stern is concerned. The bow wasn't too bad anyway. So that's been done. We then turn our attention to the actual stern canvas, because the area, the junction between the stern canvas and the hull had been quite shoddily repaired in the past. So this material that was used, which looks like some form of paint, I'm not sure what it is, but it's quite thick. It was laid quite sloppily and not sanded properly. So it was quite a messy result. And with the aging, it actually snapped cleanly. So with a Stanley knife, we were able to pull it all out and then sanded it down. And using the epoxy with the filler, the little colloidal fill thing from the West system, we thickened that epoxy, and we literally just shoved it in the gaps to try and basically bring it all together. And then again, using fiberglass cloth, we just laid cloth over the edges of the boat. Afterwards, after the epoxy cured, we sanded that down, and it was painted with these top lac paint, which a friend of mine who was doing his boat his actual big boat to sail, had half a can left of it. So he, well, just generously gave it to me. And it worked wonders. I actually ended up doing the bow and the internal part of the boat with it. And I think the results speak for themselves. If you don't look too closely, it actually looks quite smooth. And it's hard to believe that we actually applied this with an actual paintbrush and rather than a can and a spray. So, I think this is a natural point to close this video. For the next video, I'm going to look into fitting the fin and making sure that it's nice and straight so that the boat actually goes in a straight line when sculled. And I think we are done with all the inside work, so we can close the access hatch and just seal it off. Now that I've done both canvases with the top lack, I now need to lay the canvas tape along the edges, the famous yellow canvas tape I've got. And then lastly, I've got a foot stretcher, but I still need to put the seat and the runners. I've cleaned them all already, but I still need to install them back in their place. And the final episode will obviously be the test run. So until next time, take care everybody, and like and subscribe, you know, all that jazz. And I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Ta-da!